something very therapeutic about sitting by a river, watching the locals feed the fish here, making merit, and looking at all the different boats that are here. There's a lot of big tugboats that drag the big barges up and down this Chao Phraya River. But then looking at also some of the colourful river houses that are dotted along this along the riverbanks. It's really wonderful place. I'm actually outside. I'm outside. What is it called? Wat Phanan Choeng, and it's an important temple because it helps me understand the origin of Ayutthaya. Now, the origin of Ayutthaya, one of the most important things was about the riverways. Now, the location of this town is actually where three rivers meet. So this is the mighty Chao Phraya River, which leads all the way down to the Gulf of Thailand, right through Bangkok, which is where the capital is today. And it was also a very important river for trade as well. So a lot back in the heyday, back when Ayutthaya was at its peak, it was actually open to trade to some neighbouring countries and even some European countries, Middle Eastern and Chinese as well. And it was one of the few countries in this region, this Southeast Asia, which was actually open to trade. So it actually became really quite a flourishing town. And in fact, I'm just close to one of the Chinese cemeteries, and it made me remember one of the stories about there was a lot of different nationalities here. It was a very cosmopolitan, multicultural city, Ayutthaya, during the peak of its powers. And in fact, different nationalities had different regions in the town, and they were governed by their own laws. So you still can see today there's signs to saying this is the Japanese district, the Chinese district as well, which are just past the Chinese cemetery, which if we've got time I'll go and have another quick look at that. But yeah, they were all in their different positions and had their different places. They were actually outside of the Ayutthaya Island. So Ayutthaya was for the Thais, the nationals, the Ayutthaya royal family. But then the outside of the island, so Ayutthaya is actually an island surrounded by water, and outside is where these other nationalities had their camps. Which also brings me to another thought, how important water was. So as you cruise around the ruins in Ayutthaya, you need to kind of imagine that there were a lot of canals and riverways and lakes, and how water was actually a really important feature, contributed to the success of Ayutthaya, much like other ancient cities like Rome, for example, or Cambodia, the Angkor Wat as well. Like the riverways and the waterways, if you could control the water flow, it seemed to bring about great wealth, and you could actually have like a flourishing city. So this was actually one of the reasons why this was contributed. The control of the water contributed to the success of Ayutthaya. So there's significance of water here. There's actually where three rivers meet. So as I mentioned before, Chao Phraya was one of them. Now what are the other two? Chao Phraya, Lopburi River and Phra Chao River. Back when I was growing up, we used to have coloured popcorn at birthday parties, and when I saw all that coloured stuff for sale, I thought, geez, Thais take it to the next level when it comes to birthday parties and coloured popcorn. I also started, gee, that does not look very nutritious. Now I've come to realise that it's actually used for feeding the fish and not for kiddies' birthday parties. So just a side note, so people aren't here just feeding fish, they're actually making merit. And you'll see the couple behind me, they've got a few fish that are going to be releasing back into this river as an act of making merit. So you'll see a lot, there's another example of the big boat there, making merit there. They're throwing the flowers. Yeah, so that boat there just released a lot. They've got some kind of, there's some kind of a ceremony going on this, and as you probably come to realise I don't know a lot about these, and I'd love to learn a bit more. But they've just released a whole bunch of yellow flowers into the water, so there's some kind of a ceremony going on there as well. So you can see even today in the 2020s that the river plays a very important part in the spiritual side or the cultural side of Thais. So you can see here where the two rivers meet. This city was actually founded, strategically positioned where three rivers meet. Now you can see how where the rivers meet, how turbulent the waters are. Now this is the kind of turbulent water where one of King Rama V's wives died. It wasn't actually here, but it was in Koh Kret. And what happened, the royal boat was there and it capsized because of all the turbulent water where the two rivers met. And it capsized, and the queen, who was pregnant at the time, was on board, and so was one of her sons. And they tragically died. But what's more tragic about the story is that they could have been saved, but the laws at the time forbade any commoners from touching the royals. So therefore, the bystanders and their royal aides just had to watch them drown and couldn't actually reach in and save them. So quite a tragic times. So I've just learnt that the boat with all the yellow flowers was actually sprinkling ashes. So traditionally, ashes usually get stored in the temples, in the temple grounds. But what's happening is more and more popular nowadays is that once the deceased are cremated, their ashes get sprinkled here in a river. So that was a funeral ceremony that we were actually witnessing before. So I asked my good wife about this little area outside the temple here where a lot of people are feeding the fish. I said, you know, has it got some sort of spiritual or cultural significance? Hoping for some really good story. And she said, nah, they're just feeding the fish. But we don't eat these fish because these fish are too fishy. That was her assessment of this area. So I don't know, I'm none the wiser about this. Actually, they consider myself not too bad with research. I like doing research. And when I ask my wife questions about Thai culture or history, and I get certain answers, in my mind I keep thinking, should I ask her or should I just do my own research? Don't tell her that I learn a lot more about Thai society doing research rather than asking her. Oh, in case you're wondering, she is Thai. She's 100% Thai. Seems to have no idea about history and Thai culture. I think I'm starting to know more about Thai history and culture, and I've only been living here for 2 years compared to her. This little Chinese shrine by the riverside is really amazing. The intricate detail, the woodwork that's been carved. Just look at the dragon's head here, and then look at the phoenix that carved into the doors here. It's just an absolutely beautiful little shrine. So this here behind me is the temple to commemorate Soi Dok Mak. Our Princess Soi Dok Mak was cremated on this very spot. Now the legend of her traces back to the time before Ayutthaya was even a city. Now Soi Dok Mak was the daughter of a Chinese emperor. Now the king that was ruling here at the time was to be married to this princess. Now the princess arrived when it was time to be married. When she arrived, the king wasn't here. So she waited and waited and waited. She waited so long until she became deeply depressed. And when he still didn't show up, she committed suicide by holding her breath. Now when the king finally did arrive and he realized what had happened, he was so grief-stricken that he built this wat. And this wat is called Wat Phanan Choeng. So Wat Phanan Choeng is we're going to visit in a moment, but this is the temple, the shrine, which is dedicated to Lady Soi Dok Mak. This is called the Chinese building. We've got some fearsome, got the dragon up the top there, as with most Chinese temples. And then in the lower floor, which we've got some footage of, in the lower floor, it is dedicated to Guan Yin. So Guan Yin is known to be the merciful image of her with 1,000 arms. And those 1,000 arms enables her to help thousands of people. So this temple was built for Lady Soi Dok Mak, and the statue in the top floor. So the top floor is Lady Soi Dok Mak, and down the ground level is the statue for Guan Yin. I reckon if I was a Chinese emperor, I'd be the dude playing the guitar. I'd leave the fighting to some of the other people. When one comes to places like this, you just can't help but feel like that sense of peace and calm. The room, the atmosphere it creates, really it's really special. It's really hard to describe actually, but it just feels really wonderful here. It's cool, temperature's nice, these huge ceilings give you that kind of a feeling of uplift, looking towards the heaven. You can't help but feel a little bit contemplative. And it's just a magical place, especially when you have these moments where you've kind of got the place to yourself. It's just truly spectacular. This kind of places where I can linger for a long, long time. Not only that, but you just look. There's so many visual stimuli. You know, whether it's these amazing statues and sculptures, or it's the intricate paintings on the wall, or it's the ceilings, it's the woodwork, it's the carvings, just look how many Buddha images are carved into the wall or are in these carved out sections here. It's just amazing. And just the beautiful colours as well. This is truly a spectacular place. If you're in Thailand, this is a must-see. If you're in Ayutthaya, make sure this is on your list of places to visit. Ayutthaya is famous for the ancient ruins, and so I think a lot of people overlook this place, but it's a must-see. It's fantastic. So I've just been studying up on this temple here. This is Wat Phanan Choeng. It was built in 1324, and it was 26 years before officially the city of Ayutthaya was officially founded. So this predates the city of Ayutthaya. So the large Vihan, which houses this massive, absolutely massive 19-meter high Buddha, seated Buddha, and that the seated Buddha is called Luang Po To, or as the Thai Chinese call it Sam Pao Kong. The statue is regarded as a guardian for mariners. Prior to the destruction of Ayutthaya by the Burmese in 1767, it is said that tears flowed from the sacred eyes of this Buddha all the way down to its sacred navel. The position of the Buddha is in the subduing Mara, or otherwise known as the calling the earth to witness, and that can be recognized by the hand, the Buddha's hand that is pointing towards the earth. calling upon earth to witness. The origin of Ayutthaya has been subjected to scholarly and debates. Traditional accounts hold that King U-Thong, the ruler of the city called U-Thong, moved his court here because of an epidemic that was happening in his town. So he escaped the epidemic and came here. The King U-Thong was a Chinese merchant who established himself at Phetchaburi before moving to Ayutthaya. King U-Thong, who had been a post-Angkorian ruler, moved his court to this island at the intersection of the three rivers, the Chao Phraya River, the Lopburi River, and the Pasak River, and founded Ayutthaya there in 1351. It was named Ayutthaya, named after Ayodhya, which is one of the holiest Hindu cities in India of the same name. So I think this is a very good second stop. Now we're visiting a place that predates Ayutthaya, and now I've got a bit more of an understanding of the origins of Ayutthaya city, and also learn about this fabulous temple and had a very magical time here. Okay, time for the next stop now. Looking up my map, where am I heading next? I'm looking up Google Maps now, and we're going to go to Wat Phanan. Wonder what we're going to find there. Outside the temple, and just can't help but be impressed with these absolutely massive floorboards. Must have been huge trees, and then these pillars, which leads me to another story about how much logging occurred back in the day in Thailand, but that's off topic. Let's just appreciate the craftsmanship here for now. It's phenomenal. This is just the outside of the temple. So most temples you'll go to, you'll find some of the deceased, their ashes stored in significant places. In fact, I went to my mother-in-law's funeral recently and we stored her ashes in the local temple. So most temple, in the temple grounds, you'll find the remains of loved ones who have passed on. And then today we saw a new generation of sprinkling of ashes in the river, and the river, the Chao Phraya River, is just over there. So at my mother's funeral, this is the kind of place where we put her remains, and the whole family was involved in placing the ashes within the chedi and sealing it with some concrete, and then later on the plaque was positioned over her remains. Perhaps you can just see that over there is a guard tower, and these were all dotted along the river here, not only to guard the city, but actually kind of to act as some kind of a customs for all the incoming ships who are doing trade, and even to do with people, immigration, that kind of thing. So you'll see, and this one's in quite good condition actually, being well restored. Now you might be able to make out, but there's the two different types of restoration here in Ayutthaya. The red bricks are like the original bricks. So when you see anything white, it's been deliberately coloured white, so you know what the new restorations are, so you can separate the old from the new. So that tower over there, that guard tower, you can see the front facade is white because that's been restored, but the back of it is all the original red bricks. Ayutthaya Riverside is also a good spot for bird watching. You see these birds here, the nice big long white one with the long legs, and the baby form, which is the brown. So the babies are brown, and when they grow older they become these beautiful white birds, and I think they're called the egrets.